What is up, guys? Welcome to my trailer breakdown for both Arrow Season 7 Episode 15 titled Training Day, as well as The Flash Season 5 Episode 16 titled Failure is an Orphan. So I'm going to watch and break down the Arrow trailer, and after that we're going to watch and break down The Flash's trailer as well. So let's begin with Arrow Season 7 Episode 15 titled Training Day.
I want to be clear, you work for the SCPD now.
You need to learn how we do things.
SCPD, freeze!
The use of excessive force will not be tolerated. Firearms can only be used as a last resort.
Any questions?
He does know we have our own uniforms, right?
So this episode is really going with the concept that Team Arrow is now they're all deputized by the SCPD. They're all members of the SCPD as well, so they have to be trained by them. We see Oliver, Diggle, and Renee all being in this training day exercise. And first of all, I didn't really expect them to go this far with Team Arrow joining the SCPD. I thought it was just they're deputized, so now they never really have to worry about the police. They're basically just the same vigilantes or superheroes they were before, without any of the conflict or worry about the fact that they are vigilantes, so it's kind of illegal. I thought this would just make it all legit, make the fact that they are superheroes actually legal for these specific people. But it seems like they're really going with the fact that they're kind of police officers now, just with their own uniforms and their own weapons as well. But this episode is definitely going with that concept a lot, so they're getting training from the SCPD, which means that they're kind of probably just going to feel like police officers, just wearing different costumes, which I don't know how I feel about that. We're going to see how that works out. According to the synopsis, Oliver is frustrated by the fact that it's not turning out well, how Team Arrow, which is right now just Oliver, Renee, and Diggle, because Mr. Terrific left and Dinah was already a member of the SCPD before, so it's just those three members. And it seems, according to the synopsis, this training and this getting along with the SCPD probably will not turn out well, and we will see how that will turn out in this episode. Now, for this episode, I really think that Dinah will have a major role in the episode. She might be like the main focus of the episode because of the trailer, as well as something it says in the synopsis. In the trailer, we see that she is obviously a member of the SCPD, and she's the only member of Team Arrow, or the only field member currently of Team Arrow that is already, so she might be like, because of that, might connect to the whole training day thing. And while the Oliver, Renee, and Diggle are definitely training in the background, she might be the main focus of that storyline as well. But there's one scene in the trailer where she screams, freeze SCPD, and her voice sounds a little bit different. And one thing it says in the synopsis is that Dinah gets some life-changing news. This might mean that something people were predicting ever since, or when her throat was completely slit open by the Star City Slayer, which it's crazy that she didn't die from that. I know that Mr. Terrific saved her, but that is ridiculous. But anyway, the theory has been that got rid of her, not her voice. It seems like she can still talk, but her sonic cry, or maybe it changed her sonic cry because it's a metahuman thing. I don't know, but I feel like the life-changing news she's getting is probably the fact that she lost her cry. I don't think we've seen her at all using her cry in the future, which definitely was on purpose if she loses it in the present day. And she hasn't actually used the Canary or Sonic Cry in the present day either all that much, mainly because she hasn't been the Black Canary at all this season. I'm pretty sure this episode, we see in the trailer that she is suiting up as the Black Canary. This might be the first time in this season that she's putting on the costume and she's going to be the Black Canary, but this also might be her last time as the Black Canary, or at least the last time with the actual cry of the Canary Cry, because we don't see it in the future, and that's just the theory going on. And what else can really be the life-changing news that's going on in this episode? And her voice does sound a little bit different when she screams freeze in this trailer, which I really don't like the fact, like, if this is true, if she is going to lose her Canary Cry, which is probably what's going to happen, then I really don't like that, because Black Canary as a character has been so misused on this show. I mean, they've never really gotten it right, and I think Dinah was actually the first time they did. They had Sarah originally, who didn't have powers, and she's not even Dinah or Laurel from the comics, so she's not a character from the comics, so I don't think they should have done that. And also, there was Laurel, who is the Black Canary in the comics, but she didn't have her cry, and the fact that she can fight after a couple months or even a couple of weeks of boxing, that is definitely ridiculous, and I definitely acknowledge that. And then she was also killed off, which sucked. But then I think that Dinah was the first time they got it right. I mean, the personality was pretty accurate to the comics. Her backstory was changed, but also a little bit more similar to the comics. And she didn't know Oliver from before she became the Black Canary, and that's the same thing in the comics. And I definitely like that a lot more. She has the Canary Cry, so I do think that she was a much better better version and a much better improved version of the Black Canary, and her costume in Season 6 is awesome in my opinion. So now to get rid of her Canary Cry, and for what reason? To make Laurel, the Earth 2 Laurel, the actual Black Canary. I prefer Dinah at this point, and I also prefer Dinah with Oliver, and I wouldn't mind either, but I don't like the fact that if this is actually true and this is her last hurrah as Black Canary in the present day, I don't like that. At least I don't like the fact that she's losing her Canary Cry if that is what's happening, and honestly I have no doubt right now that that is what is happening. I just think that the show has misused this character so much, and not only the Dinah Drake, but the Black Canary character in general, with all like 5 or 6 versions of that character in the Arrowverse. They've never really gotten it right, and I think Dinah was kind of the time that they did, and now they're kind of going in the wrong direction. One last thing to mention for this video that has really nothing to do with the actual trailer, but there is a promotional photo for this episode. There's a lot of them, but one of them that stood out to me is this one, where you see Oliver Queen in the Green Arrow suit, but there's something different. Since he went public with his identity, and since he got out of prison, he hasn't worn the mask or the hood, because there would be no point in covering up his identity, but for some reason he put the hood back on in this promotional photo, and it really reminds me of the flashbacks, mainly the Season 5 flashbacks, where he dressed like this. He had the hood, he had the whole Arrow costume, or the hood costume from Season 1, but also he didn't have any mask or even the paint on his face, so he kind of looked like this. And I'm not going to say I like it without the mask, but I do think it's a lot better with the hood, and I do think that if they're going to stick to this, then I definitely would not mind. It really reminds me of the Season 5 flashbacks when he became the Hood for the first time. So next up is The Flash Season 5 Episode 16, titled Failure is an Orphan.
This is it. The last confrontation.
What are you talking about?
Today's the day you stop Cicada.
Something is struggling to break through. Or someone. We have to move.
The Flash, all new this Tuesday at 8/7 Central on the CW.
So this trailer definitely has a lot going on. This definitely feels like this trailer to the season finale, like the final confrontation between the Flash and Cicada. Nora even says this is the day that you defeat Cicada. I mean, this really feels like a season finale, and Nora might be right. This might be the day that Barry actually fully defeats Cicada, and they do some sort of villain switch, which it seems like the Arrowverse is doing a lot lately, like in Arrow Season 6 and currently in Arrow Season 7, and now it seems like in the Flash Season 5. I don't like this. I don't like the villain switches where like it sets up a villain for a couple episodes most of the season, and then it switches to another, so that neither of those villains really get enough screen time or enough episodes to fully develop as a villain. I think a better strategy is to have a masked villain for the first 15 episodes of the season, and then unmask him so that he really feels like the same character, but he also feels like 2 separate characters, so it doesn't get boring. This worked for Prometheus, it worked for Zoom, it worked for the Reverse Flash. I think this is a great strategy for these shows, and they're not really doing it that much lately. For Cicada, he was definitely a lot more interesting initially when we didn't know much about him. His powers looked a lot cooler than they do now, and his costume didn't look as cool, but at least he had some interesting aspects about him. Now he's gotten very boring, and he cannot handle the season at all. Every single episode he gets defeated and then he flies away, and that doesn't seem to lead to anything. Like every episode he gets stronger and stronger. That doesn't seem to be happening, and now the Flash have every upper hand. They have the cure to cure him, and they're just not doing it because it would be immoral to cure him because it's not his choice, and that will be a big plot point in this episode. But it seems like the Flash are not really struggling at all with Cicada, and with that, whenever they say that Cicada is a huge threat, I just don't buy it. So even though I don't like villain switches at all, I do think that this is one that is very necessary for this season. I just feel like they really got to think of a way to just have one villain in the span of these 23 episode long seasons, and also not have it be boring. And I think the best way is, like I said, have a masked villain and unmask him middle of the season, like episode 12 through 15. I think that is the best way to go, and I think they definitely should have done that. If they're going to do that, then that's great, with Godspeed. But it seems like that is what is happening in this episode. I feel like Cicada will be fully defeated in this episode. There's a shot right here, 6 seconds into this trailer, where Barry and Cicada are just standing face to face. Cicada's about to stab him in the face, but then he doesn't. He stabs him right to the side into a wall, which happens a lot in cinema. But it feels like this means that in this scene, Cicada will either just fully give up on everything he's trying to do because he's lost, or he is not going to give up, but he also isn't really capable of killing the Flash, either because he knows he's a father, or just because he doesn't want to kill anymore, or because he lost his powers and he actually physically can't. I don't know, but I feel like because of everything that's happening in this episode, I think this will be the shot where the Flash actually defeats Cicada once and for all. And according to what this trailer is saying, the end is actually the beginning. That might mean Cicada's end is the beginning of another villain. And that villain is obviously Godspeed, or it is Reverse Flash. Reverse Flash as a villain has been set up in this season quite a lot. We know that he's getting a new costume, so it might be the Reverse Flash that actually takes over from Cicada as the villain of the next couple episodes of the season, which I think that is what I want to see. I don't want to see Godspeed take over as villain, because I really want Godspeed to be the full villain of the next season. Even though he's going to debut in this season, I think it would be better if he only has a small role in episode 18, and although the episode is titled after him, like he has a big role in that episode, but a small role in the season, but that sets up him as a villain in season 6, where he's masked for the most part, and then he gets unmasked. Maybe he has this like crazy twist where he's not actually August Hart, similarly to how like in season 5 they used Vigilante to trick us into thinking that Adrian Chase was Vigilante. Turns out he's actually Prometheus. Spoiler alert. So they definitely can do the same thing, and I definitely would not mind if they did, but I really want Godspeed to be the main villain of a full season. So if this episode switches with Godspeed as the main villain, then I don't know if I would like that. What I would prefer is for the Reverse Flash to be the main villain of the next couple episodes of this season. I think the season did a pretty great job of setting him up as a huge presence this year, so when he does get free from this death row that he's currently on, and he comes to 2019 and battles with the Flash with the inevitable new costume he's getting, according to this one video with Tom Cavanaugh and Carlos Valdez, then that's something that I would definitely like to see, and I really think that is what is happening. Reverse Flash will actually be the main villain of the rest of this season after this episode. However, although Godspeed I don't think will be the main villain of the rest of the season, and I don't think he will be a huge part in the rest of the season, and I really hope that doesn't happen, and I hope he's more a prominent character in the next season, I think he will be debuting in this episode, as there's this whole scene in the trailer where Thawne to Nora in 2049 says that something is breaking free, or someone, probably breaking free of something like the time stream, or most likely the Speed Force, and the fact that he says someone, I mean, it's so obviously Godspeed who is breaking free. I don't know what they're doing here with the character. I don't know if Reverse Flash or Godspeed will take over as the main villain, but I definitely think Godspeed will debut in this episode, and I definitely think I know what I want them to do. We just have to wait till next week, or really till the next couple of weeks of the season, to find out what will happen with the rest of the season. Whatever happens, either Reverse Flash takes over or Godspeed takes over. I think that it is pretty clear that this is the final episode of Cicada, and I will not miss him. He was easily the worst villain of the Flash so far, so I do think that even though I don't like villain switches, this is one that is very necessary, and it definitely needs to happen with either Godspeed or the Reverse Flash.